You got it, buddy. You got it. Down.
Hello.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for coming, Richard. Congratulations on a great day. Really. We're the closing act, Steve.
How many people are in the room?
Everybody.
Oh, good.
There's not an empty seat in the house. So we better do some good stuff here today. But I want to read something that was written in the program. And before I read it, I want to apologize to everyone that DJ Khaled is not here. Okay? This guy on my right is not DJ Khaled. No matter what you people believe, this is not DJ Khaled. He's much prettier than DJ Khaled, but it ain't DJ Khaled. He had to work with some rapper today. So today the topic, Steve, is Titans of Industry.
Wait a minute. What exactly are we supposed to be doing here? Did they give a description of what they expect?
No.
Isn't there something you could read that would explain?
I'll read what it says in the program. It says, this is unrehearsed, by the way. Titans of industry have much in common. Extraordinary biographies.
Really?
Invaluable insights.
Wait a minute.
And hard-won wisdom.
Stop right there. Now I understand what happened. Yasser Ramayan walked up to me and gave me this. I want to make sure the audience can appreciate this. I think you got one too.
I did. Where's mine?
T-shirts. T-shirts.
There we go. Okay.
No money.
That's good.
T-shirts.
We're not getting paid for this, Steve, but we got T-shirts. You're right. They're on Titans.
What else are we?
Okay. Their journey through the years reveal how obstacles, small and large, have shaped their perspectives on leadership, collaboration, and innovation.
Really?
Now, I know Steve from a very, very, very long time ago, and I watched his career swell. It was amazing to watch where he went and where he got to. And I mean it. It's really fantastic. These modern visionaries, here we go again, highlight the power of using business and investment to shape the world as we know it today.
Really?
Here are the questions.
They want us to do that?
What does it mean to create a legacy of leadership and impact? Question one. How can leaders demonstrate the positive power of business and investment? Question two. What vital lessons do current Titans share that can shape future generations?
This program was originally the Davos in the desert, if I'm not mistaken. Miami Beach? There's Jews here. This is a sign of the maturation of Saudi Arabia. I know all you all came. You got your badges, you listened to all these people. There's good news and bad news. What would you like first? The bad news. Saudi Arabia is out of money. Too bad, you guys. The good news, you could still write off the trip. Okay, go ahead.
No, you're on a roll.
Okay, listen, today, I was reading that program because I was trying to find out the whole story. I was a late pick here, but I was looking at the program and we've covered everything. The remarkable advent of digital world to artificial intelligence is going to make us smarter than ever before. The developments in genetic research where we can now edit our genes and change our personalities with the CRISPR method, with CRISPR science. I finished that book by Walter Isaacson, The Code Breakers. You ought to read it. Now we find out we're the first species in the history of mankind that can change our own nature. What took millions and billions of years, we can change now on our own. We can live for 50 more years. I'm 81. I was thinking about being 131. Good news and bad news. The good news first. I could finally learn how to use the iPhone 12. The bad news, I'd never make it. I'd go insane listening to the Pillow Man one more time. It would be too much for me. My Pillow 16.0, I can't handle it, but just think about it, you guys. We can live forever.
Think how many years we could argue, Steve, if Trump lives to 130 years old.
And we're still going to face the same problems in terms of leadership and navigating a changing, more rapidly changing world than ever before. Nelson, you do it with a string of companies' investments. You're constantly evaluating other companies and seeing where the opportunity exists if only they'll wake up to their own potential. And I spent 51 years doing a single thing, very specialized as opposed to your very vastly wide activities. I learned to do one thing: build a building that would make people go, wow, staff it and motivate the employees. And I loved it. You know, we did 13 of them, one every 4 years for 51 years. But when it came down to it, I asked myself, what is it that really matters? In all these businesses that you guys are up to, you gals and guys, it's about leadership. The ability to get ordinary people to do extraordinary things, to accept and take advantage of change on the fly, which is coming so rapidly, it's machine gun fast. How do we do that? All of you that are here for information and for enlightenment from these wonderful speakers that Yasser put together with his staff, what is the thing that can make you allow people to achieve things that they didn't think they could? And you'll come to this single question: what is the most powerful motivator of human behavior? Because in the end, if you have an insight, you're going to get people to achieve your idea. How do you make your idea their idea? How do you get large groups of people, even countries, on the same page that's constructive and positive? I spent 50 years trying to figure that out. And to my own satisfaction, I came to some what appeared to me to be good conclusions. And I'll go on a minute more, Nellie, and then I'll be done with it. The most powerful motivator of people is not money. The greatest motivator of people is enhanced self-esteem. If you, as a leader or a businessman or a government official, if you can make your program, your ideas, if you can get the people that you lead to identify their own self-esteem with that behavior, they will repeat it incessantly, and they will be angry if anybody interferes, because enhanced self-esteem is the most narcotic of all human emotions. And if you can link what you want the country, the company, the employees to do to enhance self-esteem, you crack the atom in human behavior. It's the thing that we're having so much trouble with in America with our political leadership. We criticize ourselves. We have perfect understanding of the problem, but we don't know how to get to a solution. And the point you got to learn is you got to reward people with enhanced self-esteem because they've accomplished something that you think is the right thing for them to do. In my business, we figured that out. But what is important today, I think, in the context of this conversation, is for all of us that are charged with responsibility of government or companies in a fast-changing world to figure out how to make the people that we work with feel good about what they're doing. feel good about being an American, feel good about getting a good education. That's what I learned in 51 years, and it's the one thing I took away with me when I stopped working.
Steve,
Nellie, you're trying to get Disney to do that.
thank you. I appreciate that. Was great, Steve. I really mean it. And you, for what you've been through and the words of wisdom that you impart are amazing. You know, when I was a kid growing up in Brooklyn, I had one fantasy. I wanted to open up New Year's Eve singing in Las Vegas. When I found that I couldn't carry a tune, I decided I better try and make some money. And the motto of our formula at Trian and the formula that we invest is something I learned from my father who sold produce. And it's on every coffee cup in our office. And it's really simple. It says, sales up, expenses down. When I learned that, I dropped out of Wharton and figured that's all I needed to know. Sales up, expenses down. And that works whether it's a little produce company like my father owned or P&G, where I just recently got off the board. That's what they all have to understand. Sales up, expenses down. And we preach that, and it seems so simple, and they call McKinsey in, and they call all these brilliant guys in to figure out where it's going. And all they do is have to get a coffee cup from my office. That's all they have to do. They can save $25 million a year on these consultants. What do these companies need to do to grow? What do they need to do? Well, let me tell you one of the things they need to do. They need people on the boards of these companies that are truly independent, that have a vested interest. You know, every board, I started my career building businesses and happily built a very large packaging company and fixed up Snapple and did a bunch of fun things. And then I became what's called an activist investor. And it was really simple. You get into these companies, and the first thing you do when you walk into the boardroom is you look around the table and say, who here actually wrote a personal check to own stock in this company? And I want to tell you, every company whose board I've been on, I was the only guy in the room who did that. So tell me what they're doing there. What they're doing there is trying to make sure they're going to stay there, because they get hundreds of thousands of dollars in stock options and stock gifts. So they want to make the CEO happy. They were a CEO once, and they wanted their board to make them happy, so they try and give as good as they get. Now, you talked about, A-Rod spoke about Bob Iger for a moment, and Bob said he was going to do everything that we asked him to do, and we'll see. And I hope he will, because the stock that we have will go up, and everybody will be happy.
You know, Nellie, I was thinking, it'd be wonderful at the end of the day, people have listened to a lot of people talk about different things, and then they come to this point and having a look at us. How's about us taking questions? Maybe one or both of us pique your curiosity about something. Do you have a question you want to throw at us? I'd be glad to, and I'm sure Nelson would too, would be glad to respond. It's an ambitious program here about Titans.
There's someone on the left, Steve, who's got a question.
Can you help us?
Steve, someone on the left's got a question.
Come on up close so I can hear you.
I'm already mic'd. Nelson, can I ask? So Nelson, or for Steve, I'm Alex Rodriguez again. I'm an enormous fan of both of you, and both of you are friends and mentors of mine. Steve, you mentioned 51 years of business, and Nelson, no one's seen more businesses over the last 4 decades probably than you. When you guys think about hiring world-class talent, it's never been more competitive to find the best people in the world, Bob Iger being one of them. Maybe each of you can give us an example of one asset or attribute that you guys look for when you try to hire world-class people or CEOs or anyone for one of your companies.
Steve, you want to go?
Sure. If you're a CEO and you're a chairman, the only interviews you get are people that are being interviewed for senior positions. And one of the truths were that everybody gives good interview. So here's what I figured, that if someone who's obviously talented, who has a good track record, a CV, if they've come to see to join our gang, then my job is the only mistake someone could make is that they make the wrong decision. I'm talking about the applicant. See, if someone joins my company and I pick the wrong person, it's not devastating. We'll change and move on to the next person. But to the applicant, to one of you that wants to come and join us, this is a big move in your life. You can't afford to have 18 jobs in 20 years. I mean, this is a big thing if you're willing to join this crew. And if you know the job, if you know the environment you're stepping in, and you think it's the place for you, then you're right. The danger is if you don't know what you're getting into. So when people came to see me and I was interviewing them or talking to them, first thing I said, look, you got some idea of this company and my arrangement with it and my relationship to it. Listen, I want you to interview me. See if you got this place figured. And since I play an important part in it, see if you get a sense of me and if you're comfortable with that. I want you to be successful, but I want you to understand what you're getting into. I don't want you to find out 6 months from now that you made a terrible mistake. So the first thing I'm interested in is, how does someone react to that? Did their eyes click open and they get a smile on their face and say, I'm glad you allowed that opening, Steve or Mr. Wynn? And they start to ask me questions, and they're not intimidated, and their thoughts are well organized. Then I know I start to get excited during the interview, and I start to get enthusiasm for that person. Mainly, I'm interested in them, and I find out about them because they're asking about us. In other words, be a listener. Be a listener. It's the secret of good acting, I'm told, by people who act. They asked Spencer Tracy, how'd you be such a great actor? He said, I was a good listener. And I did my interviews and developed my enthusiasm and my sense of the potential success of people by that characteristic and the way they responded to that. Is that a satisfactory answer?
Very good. I just recently completed a search at Unilever. Unilever is a British company, one of the biggest FTSE companies around, well over 100 years old. Great business that hasn't been run properly for decades. That's why I got there. We decided we needed a new CEO. Our current CEO decided to retire. I was on the search committee of 3 interviewing people. And we found somebody, and he starts June 1st, and I can't wait for that day to come. But when you meet people, and now I'm an outside director, I'm not in Steve's situation where I'm living and breathing the business every day. I know what I want to see, I know what I want to happen, and I want somebody who can either see the business in the future the way I see it, or if they have a different plan that may be better than what I have in mind. So I met with this guy 3 times. He came to my home. I met him in the office. I met him somewhere else. We had a meal together. And I found that his vision for the business It was very, very similar to what I thought. And it took me 3 times to figure that out. Because the first time he could have been giving me what he thought that I wanted to hear, and maybe the second time a little bit of that. But by the third time, he sold me. Now, I'm going to find out in the next 6 months whether I was right or wrong. But I think this guy's got the energy and so forth, and that's what you need. You need, in our case at Unilever, and every assignment is different. At Unilever, we needed a change agent. This is an old, amazing company that spits nothing but cash.
Let's get a
but
second.
doesn't really know how to grow market share. Steve is chomping at the bit. Go ahead, Steve.
Want to take another question?
Go ahead.
Can you hear him, Nelson?
I can't hear. You got a mic? There's one.
He's talking to you.
Turn me on? Okay.
Ah, great.
Evelio Medina, thank you for being here, and welcome to Miami. I run the Miami Brickell Chamber of Commerce. Question specifically for both of you. And I've followed you for a long time from Triarch. What is your appeal, or why do you always go into operating companies, unlike, for example, real estate, which they all come with assets and operations, but why always fix these companies?
I didn't hear that.
I'm sorry.
I don't think I...
Why do you invest in operating companies constantly? And I love that model. Obviously, those operating companies come with assets that you got to manage, but you've been able to do amazing jobs by taking companies that weren't working and making them work. What's the allure to operating companies?
Oh, well, I never bought one. I built them with a gang of helpers, and colleagues.
I don't think I understand the word. Why are we investing in operating businesses? Was that...
Investing, or why we were trying. I'll tell you.
We invest in companies that we believe are not living up to their potential. That's number one.
That's what you...
And number two, that we have a plan to make it better. So both of those things are important. There are plenty of companies that are not doing well, that may or may not be living up to their potential, but frankly, we don't have a plan to get them there. But if we do have a plan, and we think there's a lot of white space between where they are and where they could be, then we're going to invest. In most cases, not all the time, we're going to want a seat on the board.
Drop my watch. Sorry.
You like what I said?
Yeah, well, no surprise to me. I hear you talk about it all the time. I don't think I have anything to add to that. I was immersed in an operational business. You all know, because half of you came there. And it was absorbing. It was wonderful. I spent 80% of my time when I wasn't in the design mode with my colleagues. I spent 80% of my time on HR. That's what I cared about. Customers talk to the staff, the line employees. Whatever we were trying to do to accomplish the positive guest experience was through them. It was about them. Did you ever notice that your success as a CEO or an executive, like all of you in this room, that your success is defined by the people that you work with? It's always about them. Your success is about them. My supervisor's successes were about their people. And our frontline employees' successes were about their relationship to the customers. It's always about them. It was never about us in the sense of what really mattered in an operating business. That is very much like what I said a few minutes ago. We have time for another question.
No, unfortunately not. I'm being told we got a wrap, sorry. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give him a huge round of applause. Thank you.